Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. Thank you so much for joining us live. What a time to be going live. If you're listening to the show for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify and Audio Boom across a range of different audio platforms. We're of course on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And we are bringing you instant reaction to Tottenham Hotspur losing to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge by 2-0. Talking me through this therapy session, pleased to have on my top right, back on the show, Ricky Norwood. Ricks, I have to apologise in advance. We know it's going to be a tough show. It always is on evenings like this. How are you? So much so he doesn't really want to talk. Let me unmute Ricks.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
We've got you.
Yeah, I'm all right, Ricks. Thanks for having me back on.
Pleasure.
Oh mate, what a bloody game, eh? What a game. I mean, the only positives that I can see is that Lukaku and Werner didn't score. It was a tough one today, but I'm sure we'll get into it. But thank you ever so much for having me back on the show. If I'm a little bit echoey, it's because the missus has got to get up at 6 a.m, and this is the quietest room in the house. So that's where I am. So
looks good though, Rick. Yeah, looks nice, isn't it?
He's on the bog.
Right.
He's on the bog, everyone. He's on the bog. He's on the bog.
I think that's where we've been all night, haven't we?
Toilet.
Oh dear! What a night! What a night! Also pleased to have back his dulcet tones. My God, we need the analogies. We need some positivity tonight. Richard Cracknell's in the house. Rich, thank you so much. Going to be a difficult one, but lovely to have you back on. How are you?
Yeah, all good, and Merry Spanish Christmas Day tomorrow. So yeah,
I think we were the ones giving away the presents, weren't we, Rich? We were the ones giving away the presents.
Oh man, alive! It's wow. We went to Stamford Bridge. It's all about bridges, isn't it, Rick? You know, the bridging class, bridging mentality. Can we bridge the gap that's between us? So it is. It's bridges all the way, but. You know, once again, Tottenham's biggest enemy or biggest opponent is themselves here, up here.
Absolutely.
This is where it's lacking.
Masters of our own downfall.
I don't know if we need Conte. I think we need Paul McKenna. It's like, you know, it's mad anyway. We better crack on. Apparently, there's cricket tonight.
Oh well, I mean, this man will do anything to not talk all things Tottenham. Please have him back on because he is. As always, as we know, Jason, one of the most level-headed people I know. Jace, I know you've always said to us at the very early stages to not get too carried away due to the nature of the teams we're facing. But even for you, those mistakes, we'll come on to it in a second, they must have been a shock. How are you, firstly?
Well, first of all, it was a big shock to see that spider on Cracker's shoulder, just over the top of his shoulder. I mean, that's my phobia, spiders, and he's brought a massive spider into the show.
Oh, man. Look at that.
I think the frustration tonight for me, Chelsea were miles better, should have won the game 5 or 6-0. But the frustration is, so poor was their finishing, they pretty much hit everything at Hugo.
Yep.
And Hugo, all the saves Hugo made were pretty comfortable saves, but we still go and score twice. But we score twice in our own net. It's as if Chelsea won't score past him, so let's put them past him ourselves. And I tell you, if you said to me at the start of the season, Spurs will score 2 own goals, where will they come at? I tell you, any money you like, it will be at Stamford Bridge. It won't be at Burnley. It won't be at Brighton. We'll do that at Stamford Bridge because that's what we do at Stamford Bridge. From Vertonghen falling over on a back pass and from Trippier finding Hugo coming out and slipping it past it. I mean, things like that happen to us at Stamford Bridge year in, year out. And, you know, so nothing that's happened tonight is a surprise. But that's the frustration. They're miles better, but we scored both their goals for them.
Yeah, just on the screen there, Charles says, glad you look well, Jace. I think we've had the good news, Jace. You're out of isolation.
I came out of prison yesterday. I finally got released from my prison cell yesterday. So
some good news.
It's nice. I got fit, and let's hope that Eric Dyers manages to get himself fit for that second leg in the same way.
I bet after tonight's performance, we should be going back into prison, wouldn't you? On the back of that, I tell you, it's tough. Very, very tough. Listen, I want to say one thing. We've had over 150 questions into the show tonight. I mean, hopefully, you know, due to the nature of how quickly we turn around these shows, we haven't been able to get all those 150 down on paper to read out. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody that, of course, contributes to the show. Questions, tweets us, that listens to us. Thank you so much for all the support. We'll try and cover off all the elements during the show if Jason allows us. Test innings pending.
As long as we finish today, not tomorrow.
Well, Joe, on the back of the way we play, Jay, I think we'd all be finishing in 10 minutes, but such is the nature of this show. Who knows where we go? Rix, I want to start with you because many will probably feel that's pretty the standard big game Spurs level, really. That capitulation at the beginning, 2 really poor goals to concede, both self-inflicted. The cliche we say a wake-up call for Conte, but I think he probably already knew when we've seen over the last couple of weeks what was coming and the need for patience, the need really to invest in this squad. And I think, again, it just kind of outlines just how big a job himself and Paratici have to turn Tottenham into a side that can compete mentally, let alone with the competition they've got ahead of them.
No, I absolutely agree with you, Rix. I think you saw, Conte said in one of his press conferences this week about the level and the gap between Chelsea and Tottenham. And I think we saw it tonight. They were at us from the word go. They were hustling. They hunted in packs. Like the commentator said there. They were on us. It's like every kind of little kind of under-hit pass or over-hit pass they got onto. They broke on us quickly. They bullied us. In that first half. And as the stats show, we didn't get a kick. We didn't get nothing really, and it's just so frustrating because of course Alonso was involved in the goal in the first one, and 2 own goals to go down to 2-0 against them lot and 2 own goals is just gutting really, and the fact that we didn't, the change in shape in the second half shored us up a little bit more, and we started to get a little bit more into the game, but Chelsea were way ahead. They could have easily scored 3, 4, 5 or 6 tonight. Easy. So, totally disappointing. But I think, again, it shows Conte, it shows Paratici, it shows Levy, how far away we are and how much quality we do need in this squad, how much investment we need in this squad, starting this month. If you just look at the subs, I wanted like an informed Ndombele on there just to hold the ball, just to slow it down, just to be a little bit creative, just to kind of like be strong on the ball a little bit. He came on, he didn't really do too much. Gil, he had a great run down the left-hand side, whipped it back in, unfortunate. Lo Celso done a bit of running. Winks, he didn't really get into the game. So you look at the level of subs that we had and we brought onto the field, and the level of subs that they had, even though they're injured left, right, they've got injuries left, right, centre, and I think a couple of COVID situations. You can just see the massive gap in quality between the two sides, and more reason to go to work this month and kind of try and rectify that little bit by little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, we know from the summer, just the amount of work needs to still be done to this squad. And I think, again, a result like that reinforces it. And I'm conscious that also when we do record straight after a game, emotions are really, really high. And to try and sometimes give decent context on the back of just watching it once, and I'm sure we're probably not going to go all back and watch that again due to the nature of the result, can be tricky. So I just want to say to people listening to this tomorrow, bear with us. And we've literally are recording straight after this game. So we're all feeling really down right now. And, this is one of the most exciting positive panels that I know. We have such a laugh, boys, generally. So it is tough. To come around to you, Rich, ironically, at least this tie is somehow still alive because Spurs were really poor. They're comprehensively outplayed by a Chelsea side that were, missing several key players. And I know some people feel there's a frustration over Conte's selections, but what that does today, I think, just shows the massive gulf in quality between the two sides at present.
Yeah, very, very much so. And it's like Conte set up today to play the system that he wants to play, the style of football that he wants to play going forward. And within that, it was shown just how poor the current squad is to be able to step up and go toe-to-toe with a team like Chelsea, you know, like I've often said with my silly analogies, making chicken soup out of chicken shit. And then he seemed to be making like a KFC out of chicken shit. Well, tonight, he's on MasterChef tonight, isn't he? He's up against the big boys. You know, he's making a chicken dish for John Turode and Greg Wallace and like these panel of up their self chefs. And like they've taken one bite of it and they've gone, no, that's just not good enough. It might be all right, you know, for the high road, you know, doing a bit of fried chicken, but this is another. We
were missing the ingredients tonight, Rich. We didn't even make the off.
No.
Didn't make the food. I tell you.
But you know, the worrying thing is, Rick and everybody, was the mentality. That's the thing. We haven't actually gone now and competed. We just looked so beaten when that first goal went in on 8 minutes. You could the close up of the players. They just look shell shocked. They look like a boxer that's just had an haymaker on the chin. Couldn't clear their heads. You could see there was no big breath in. Let's go again. A few rallying round. They're all sort of like looking at each other, and you could just see like the fear in their eyes. And this is a huge issue for us now. Is mentality, because you know, Conte has progressed us, absolutely no doubt. You know, he got to that 7 or 8 games without defeat, and we're starting to go to certain places like Watford and, you know, games against Everton. And, you know, that step up's sort of been done. But this isn't just a step. This is like trying to step across the Grand Canyon now, to go to Stamford Bridge, to go to Anfield, to go to the Emirates, to go up to Man City and that. This isn't steps, you know, like going away to Watford or places like Southampton and that. This is like, you've got to get across the Grand Canyon here now. And we've just not got it in our locker at the moment. So there's huge changes. And this is what Conte alluded to in his post-match interview. It isn't just about going into the transfer market. There's a whole culture to be changed. And there's patience and times needed for that. And you do worry that, you know, with today's football, unless you hit the ground running within 5 minutes, you're done. It's like, oh, you're out the door and the next one in. So there's just so much work to be done now. And, you know, because you could probably pick maybe 10, 11 players in this squad now that could do with going. Really could. It needs to be that root and branch of some of these players that need going. You can't do that in one window. You can't do it in 2 or 3. We're looking at like 4 or 5 year progression, and each window and each season within those 4 or 5 really pushing the envelope of that progression just to get up to that level and to step across that Grand Canyon now. It's a big job.
Yeah, I know tonight will feel like to many like a reality check. I know, Jace, whenever I've spoken to you, you've laughed at me for getting carried away on this Conte train. Just see this. This is from Jason, who's doing the show, who's even narrating now his own. Anything to not talk about Tottenham. Jace, but honestly, you know, this tie, Jace, is it still alive? 2-0 down? I mean, we know it needs huge improvement. Is there any way you can see us turning this around?
Well, you have to. I think you have to score the first goal at White Hart Lane, and you've got to get that goal. You've got to get that goal, even if it's 75 minutes, and then you give yourself 15 minutes, you know, gung ho at them. But and even then, you only get maybe to penalties. So we're going to have to do it the hard way. But it's not beyond the realms. I think there's 2 ways to look at it. Number one, you know, from the level that he's taken us over. Let's not forget we've dropped out of the top 4 to 5th. The following year, or to 6th. The following year, we finished 7th. We've then had Nuno struggling away with us. So, you know, we're comparing ourselves to Chelsea tonight, where really the task for Conte is to get us, at the moment, in front of West Ham, Arsenal, Leicester, you know, to be the best of the rest, if you like.
Which he is doing.
Which so far we're looking that way. But there's a long way to go. So, you know, I'm not really going to go to town on him because we're not at Chelsea's level in the space of 8 weeks. You know, there's a reason they're champions of Europe. And as much as our performance was poor tonight, Some of that is us poor, but you also have to say their quality, the level of intensity they showed, and then their composure and their ability to play properly at that. It's not just charging into somebody for the sake of it. It's charging in a structured way, and as soon as they win it, they can bomb a first-time pass. So, there's a lot of credit has to go to Chelsea tonight for the way they played. But the frustrating side of that is that Burnley are nowhere near as good as Chelsea, but can go to Stamford Bridge and get a result. Leeds are nowhere as good as Chelsea, but it takes Chelsea 2 penalties and a 90th minute winner to see them off. Brighton are nowhere near as good as Chelsea. They're a good footballing side, Brighton, but they're not at Chelsea's level, but they can go there and get a result. So even within that, you've got to show a little bit more personality in your performance. And as you said, Conte would have looked at that side today in the hotel or at Spurs Lodge or wherever they were at lunchtime, and he will have seen how much mentality was in that. He would have seen, am I looking at these players, do they believe we can go there and do something? Or am I looking at players and I'm giving my instructions to them and I'm looking at them thinking, it's not really going in, is it? This is, it's the old been there, done it. And even as fans, we're probably thinking, a bit like me, if we're going to score 2 own goals, it'll be at Stamford Bridge. We can see the 5th minute heads go down and we're in our group, we're saying Groundhog Day, messaging, oh, here we go again, mistake FC. So, we've got that mentality as fans as well. So it's not easy for him to change it. But, his job at the moment is to get us to be the best of the rest. And when we get to become the best of the rest, you're talking earlier, Rick, in the group about, is this player good enough for any of the other top teams?
Yeah.
Don't compare us to the top teams yet, because we're nowhere near that.
We're not. No.
We've got to be, are our players good enough to be in front of Leicester and West Ham and Arsenal and things? And we need to do that first. When we get there, then we can start looking above us. But let's not try and cross the ocean in a little glider at the moment. That's all we've got.
Yeah. Rick, we'll come back round to you. That first half, and I don't want to pry on it too much because I know we're all feeling like absolute crap off the back of watching that. But no doubt, it was our worst half under Conte so far. We just could not get hold of the ball, couldn't get out. And we conceded 2 very, very, very what I would call Spurs goals to concede. It was just, if someone said to you, show me what a Spurs defensive mix-up looks like, that would have been it. And then we saw 2 of them. But, second half, I'll be honest, it did get better. The overall picture, still not great. Chelsea, as we said, so much better. Whether that's down to fatigue and lack of depth, especially midfield, I just think we lost that midfield battle. Do you have any hope, Rick, looking ahead to the second leg, that, bearing in mind how many chances Chelsea missed, we do have an opportunity there if we get that first goal?
Oh, we always have an opportunity, Ricks. We always have an opportunity. It is football. We don't know what type of reaction the boys are going to have to this, and we don't know what type of reaction Conte is going to have to this. I know it's going to be demanding, and I know it's probably going to be furious, but it's all up to the boys. It's all up to the boys. That first half today, Ricks, they passed the ball around us like we wasn't there. They were so quick. Their movement, their patterns of play. Every time we got the ball and we tried to get a quick 1-2, they were there, they were nicking, they were nipping at the ankles. They got every second ball going and broken us. What is encouraging is that Conte did try and do something. He did try and do something. I don't know why Doherty started on the left at all today. We've seen that he can't really. He hasn't done too much at right wing back, let alone left wing back. He's only got that right foot. And to be fair to him, he didn't do tremendously that bad, but I don't know why he started. But what Conte did do was switch up the formation and try and do something, try and give us some type of impetus going forward, And I think that was encouraging to see him do that so quickly, take off Doherty at halftime and bring on Ndombele. To try and, again, like I was saying, like I was hoping for him to kind of hold the ball or, be able to beat a man with his strength, a bit like Musa Dembele used to. Didn't quite work out as well as we would have liked. But at least he was making those changes. And, even taking off Sonny today, I love Sonny. I want Sonny, he's one of my favourite players at Tottenham right now. And, you know, I love everything that he does, but he wasn't getting much of the ball today, or he wasn't as effective as he normally is. There was a lot of running. There was a lot of passion within him. There was a lot of kind of, you could see he was hurting, but Conte goes, you know what, you're not having a great game today. Let me take you off. Let me take Lucas off. Let's try something else. And he tried to give those players a go. The biggest positive is that it's only 2-0, Ricks. It is only 2-0. And now it's up to us to react. Now it's up to us to do something. You know, we'll have Dyer back and Romero back, hopefully, by next week. Hopefully with Romero, and hopefully on Dyer as well. But who would have thought 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago that we would have missed Dyer being in the back line like that? So hopefully in the second leg we've got a couple more of those boys back, and we can go for him. But this is an education. You know,
you're right. It's a painful one, but it is an education. I mean, how many times have we said that with Tottenham? Yeah,
massive.
Yeah.
And we've got to play them 2 more times this month. Do you know what I mean? So they better learn the lessons and learn the lessons quick.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, Ricks, because coming around to you, Rich, you know, we say we've got to play them twice again this month. You know, people were saying when Dyer comes back, you know, Chelsea today, let's not forget they're missing Mendy, James, Chilwell, Thiago Silva, Kante, Kovacic. I mean, that's the frustrating thing tonight. They're beatable. That team was beatable. And, you know, unfortunately, Spurs, as we always do, we beat ourselves.
Yeah, every time, Rick. And it's, you know, a new group of players, a different manager. And we've gone there again and literally beaten ourselves. Like Jay said, you know, one goes, we're scoring own goals. You always know it's coming now. So there's just something, you know, rotten in the state of Denmark, as the saying goes. I don't know what it is, Rick. There's something not quite right with the mentality of the club, that they just can't push on that mentality, whoever comes in. So but I don't know where that is. I wish I did, because you could solve it, and you probably make millions as well if you could solve mentality at clubs. It was, it's just gone there and felt beat again. And that's the frustrating thing.
Yeah.
It is a horrible
to them as well.
thing.
It's just to them.
Yeah,
to them.
it's
them as a club. Them.
Exactly. And I can't quite put my finger on what it is. But I think, you know, Jace is absolutely right. We've got to start taking baby steps. So I think we have to shift our whole thinking with Tottenham at the moment where we are. Forget this Champions, you know, we've got to get into the Champions League and got to do it. For what? To get more finances, you know. I know we made a final, but let's be honest, we shit-assed our way to the final, didn't we? City should have beaten us. Ajax was one of those lucky things, wasn't it? You know, we got lucky at the end.
Everyone knew the cracks. Everyone knew the cracks that season. You don't
exactly.
I see Jason's face there, but we had massive. Spurs were out that Champions League how many times on that run?
Yeah, you know, and they're cups, you know, and sometimes you get lucky little runs through and little breaks, and them's the breaks. I just feel that what Spurs need to do, like Jay said, is just get to a Carabao Cup final first, or an FA Cup final first, and win it, and go and win it. And almost like, you know, like driving lessons, isn't it? Go and get the mentality of doing it in one of these cups, and give them that feeling, and give them that what it's like to get over the line, and then kick on from there. You know, so, like, you know, we had it in the group the other night. Would you rather see top 4 or a cup? Yeah. And it was, you know, cup. I've just straight away. It's not even.
Cup. Yeah, I think this club, after how so long now, needs a cup. I know we want Champions League. I know Champions League attracts better players. I know better players means better results.
But not for having a physical cup, Rick. Not for having one to put into the cabinet, as lovely as that is, for up here. Yeah, that's where we need the cup up here. Not in the cabinet. We need it up here. That's where we need it, and you kick on from there. You know, we've got to strip ourselves down mentally, and you know, and look at everything that's currently wrong, and then you can start, you know, building back from there. So that's, you know, forget all this getting into the Champions League at the moment. The baby steps, and, you know, just stepping up to be the best of the rest is what's needed, as Jay said.
Jace, just out of interest, what Richie's saying there about the need for trophies for the mentality. I just wonder, do you think Spurs at some point, Jace, have just got to bite the bullet and maybe look to bring in a couple of wise old heads that have actually been there and done it and won it? Because listen, we've got many of these players in the squads that are captains of their country, but deep down, when you really dig deep in this Spurs squad, I mean, although they may have won in other countries, we haven't got many Premier League winners in there or players that have won numerous trophies. And I know this is the old adage thing about, again, investing in maybe older players. But I just feel on nights like tonight, when you need to get a result, does it make a difference having a couple of those players? I know Rich was also, shaking his head there, saying yes there, that have been there, done it, won it. Do you agree? It's a very young team there tonight. Spurs are taking. Apart from Kane, of course. But you see what I'm coming from.
You say it's a young team, but there's enough experience on that pitch. Kane, Son, Lucas Moura, Hojbjerg. They're not exactly teenagers. They've played enough football.
Yeah,
they've played enough football in their lives. Ben Davies, Hugo. But I know what you're saying. I would love Azpilicueta and Rudiger type mentality, But the problem is that for us, we've done it from abroad, and you're right, because I look back at Pochettino's side and you look, Hugo a World Cup, Aurier won numerous trophies at Paris, Toby and Jan won the Dutch League, Ericsson won the Dutch League, Wanyama won in Scotland, Moussa Dembele won a league title. All these players have won league titles, but they couldn't do it at Tottenham. So if you're going to do it at Tottenham and you say, we've got to go and buy somebody with that mentality to come into Tottenham, you're going to have to buy from Chelsea, but they won't sell to us. Or you're going to have to buy from Manchester City and no one's going to come to us. Where else are you going to go and buy one from? Because they're the clubs that win most of the things, aren't they?
Listen, Juve or Milan, these. I know they're
a lot
older.
But that's what I mean. We've done that because we've had Tobys and Jans and Ericssons and Wanyamas and Auriers and people that have won trophies elsewhere. It's bringing that to Tottenham. And I think the culture of winning it comes right from the very top, right at the top, and there's everything done at the top to turn you into a winning. I mean, Azpilicueta didn't come to Chelsea with that mentality, but as soon as he got to Chelsea and he mixed with Frank Lampard's and Mourinho type managers and that do have that winning mentality, and he knows Abramovich has it, and everything Chelsea do is about winning something at the start of the season. Their whole being is about winning. That mentality gets into them. Whereas at Tottenham, when they come, that mentality right at the very top is not there at the start of it. And so even when you bring a Mourinho in, even when you bring a Conte in, even if we went and bought Azpilicueta or someone like that, it doesn't just turn like that because you've got that player. You've got to have that whole mentality from the top on day one of the season, and we don't have it.
I must say, we've just said, and again, because we are doing the show live, comments are coming out from Antonio Conte's post-match press conference. Jace, he says, if we think with the transfer window in January, we solve the situation, I'm telling you a lie, not the truth. He then wanted to say, in the last years, the level of Tottenham has dropped and has dropped a lot. And he's spot on, isn't he? He's very honest. I know in the past, maybe under Mourinho, you always felt like some of the comments you just thought, where's he coming from? But Conte, if there's one thing about him, very honest.
Yeah, no, he is. But, we've seen that with our eyes. We finished 7th and we're in a Europa Conference League, having been in a Champions League final 2 years ago. That tells you what the level is. We've lost some horrendous games. We're struggling to beat teams. So we know that problem ourselves. So there's nothing new in what he's saying. And that's why I say our first target is to become the best of the rest before we worry about being at Chelsea's level.
Yeah, totally agree. But we are going to go for our first break of the show. Taking you into that break, you are going to hear from Antonio Conte, who reflects on Spurs being beaten by Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And when we return, we'll be getting into the story of the game. For our watching audience on YouTube, nearly 600 of you watching us live, thank you so much. Bearing in mind, on the back of that kind of defeat, bearing in mind, it's not even easy to talk about, let alone even watch it. So again, guys, thank you so much for all the support. Really appreciate it. As Jason rebounds here and says, cricket has started. Well, there you go. It's one of those nights, I'm afraid, where it's...
He's a glutton for punishment, and he's just had Tottenham getting served up, and now he wants to watch England. What's wrong with you, man? You're a masochist.
I just don't want to talk Tottenham. That's why I want to watch it.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it either, but we have to. Right.
The Tiddlywinks replays on BBC Seven as well.
Anything. I'll even watch Checkers at this rate, I tell you. Anything to get away talking like this, I tell you. Rick, we're going to come around to you to start the second part of the show. You know, Conte, the team selection is one of those things that when it comes out now, it's just, it's so heavily debated, it's criticised, it's absolutely... it just doesn't. Listen, nobody will ever agree on the selection, and we've got to be careful here because we obviously know there's a couple of players in the Spurs camp that have got COVID, and obviously for medical reasons we can't obviously talk about the players that have got it. But obviously the team we saw was adjusted slightly for Spurs, who still named quite a strong team. We saw obviously Eric Dyer coming out of that back line, and of course in Eric Dyer's place, Japhet Tanganga really. And again, it's one where, let's be honest about it, fans of Japhet Tanganga, I think up until this point with Japhet, there's been an element of concern about him whenever he's been in the lineup where he just hasn't looked secure. And then obviously we then had Matt Doherty operating as a left wing back, which I think to many fans just didn't really inspire them with confidence when that lineup come out. I mean, I think we saw the replies to the Spurs official Twitter feed. I mean, it was just tweet after tweet after tweet on Doherty. But that team for Spurs, of course, Reguilon also dropping to the bench with Matt Doherty in the side. We understand Reguilon has got a slight hamstring issue. So that team for Spurs read Lloris, Tanganga, Sanchez, Davis, Emerson, Skipp, Hojbjerg, Doherty, Lucas, Kane, Son. On the bench, Spurs had Galini, Austin, Rodon, who, again, can't seem to get a look at the moment, who was behind Dyer, of course. Winks and Ndombele, Lo Celso, Ali, Hill. Chelsea did rotate their side, and obviously it meant Lukaku came back in after his apology in the midweek. Team, when it came out, Rick, I know, listen, I was very confident going into this game tonight. I can see us getting beat. What do I know? But, you know, did that team, when it came out, Rick, already set you on the back foot confidence-wise?
Yeah, it did a little bit. I mean, look, I've said it from the beginning since Conte's been here. If he trusts them, then I trust them. All right. So there is part of me that is kind of like, all right, and cool. He's put these in because he trusts them, and let's go for it. Let's see what happens. But with my Tottenham head on, and you know how we know how the team will perform this season under both managers. Seeing Tanganga there and Doherty at left wing back, I just didn't understand. I didn't understand it the other day when he brought on Hill at right wing back and he still left Doherty at left wing back. Didn't understand it then. But when I saw Tanganga in there, I was just kind of like, I think this game might be too big for him. I think the best thing for Tanganga would have been that loan in the summer, really, because that's exactly what he needs. He needs rhythm. He needs first team football. He needs to grow. He's still a young boy. There's loads of promise in him. You know, we've seen flashes of what he can bring to the side, and he needs a regular run of games to kind of get and hone his game. So that once he comes back into the side, he can then perform. So I think it was a massive game for Tanganga, and you could see there was a lot of kind of the way that Chelsea pressed, especially in that first half. There was a lot of fear within Tanganga. I think Tanganga grew into the game in the second half a little bit more. I mean, going to a back four, I think probably helped. And then taking off Doherty in the second half, I think it was probably the right thing to do.
Rick, can I ask you? I just have interest. I mean, we're getting loads of comments coming through here. Can you understand why Rodon hasn't been given that opportunity? I think we have to say as well that, you know, listen, Conte is one of the best managers in the world, and he watches Rodon in training every day. There's got to be a reason why Mourinho didn't really fancy him, and now Conte didn't fancy him. There's surely more to this than just a non-selection, right? It has to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to trust again. Yeah. So he's seen him in training for the last 2 months, and you know, he's put out to the press and put out to the fans that he's behind Dyer. So all of us, if Dyer's not playing, then we expect Rodon to at least be in there and then kind of try and keep the shape and the solidity that we've had in the previous couple of games. But to shift Sanchez centre and then kind of put Tanganga as the right centre back almost kind of shows you that he doesn't really fancy him. Yeah. But we've seen Rodon play well for Wales and stand up.
But it's been needed. Yeah, it's been a key part for them generally. Rodon.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, he needs a run of games. He needs a run of games.
All I'd say there, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, what do we think of Ben Davies? We know he's not good enough. But you look at Ben Davies play for Wales, he looks excellent. So just because they look good playing for Wales against Estonia doesn't mean to say you'll look good for Tottenham playing against, Liverpool and Chelsea. It's and you're right. If people are looking at him and managers, might despise for Mourinho, but I'll never say the bloke doesn't know anything about football.
No.
And he's obviously a top defensive coach. He looked at him and didn't fancy him, and nor did Conte. There must be a reason that, for whatever reason. So just because they play good for Wales against Estonia and Poland, it's not the Premier League.
No, but the only reason I mentioned his Wales form is because that's the only time that we've seen him consistently won.
Yeah, it's so true.
And we can see roughly what type of player he is. But the Premier League is a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame. The pace, the power, the technical aspects of it, the skills, and we've got Chelsea. They've got world-class players all over the pitch. Doesn't matter what side they put out. Yeah. So I think it would have been good to see him. I think, but obviously, I think Conte doesn't fancy him, doesn't trust him in that back three. So I think he'll probably be on his way out this January.
Interesting for you, Rich, just on the team selection. Do you have any murmurings or any concerns about it? I know certain fans, again, when it came out, very critical. Have you got any? Do you hold a judgment on what that team comes out, or do you trust the manager that he sees these players in training day in, day out? It's Conte, therefore, surely you have to trust his judgment.
What's he got to choose from, Rick, and everybody? If that's your choice, that's your choice. I mean, there's obviously something really not right with Rodon, because he was being spoke of as being Dyer's direct replacement if Dyer was out. Yeah. And he hasn't come in tonight, and as Jay said, Mourinho didn't fancy him. Conte doesn't fancy him. So there's something going on. Nuno as well. So, a couple of times he came in, bar that mistake versus Liverpool, he looked quite good. He looks solid enough in the Wales side, but, within the Premier League, there's something that these coaches are seeing that they just don't like the look of. So, Conte's got Hobson's choice in this. If that's all he's got left to play with in that squad is a Doherty and is a Tanganga, then that's what he has to go with. So, he has to play the hand he's dealt, doesn't he? But the trouble you've got is even further up the pitch, defence isn't just a defence. Your midfield is your defence, and your strikers are your defence. So as soon as you're out of possession, Son and Kane need to start doing whatever they need to do. And then it comes down to Hojbjerg and Skipp, across the middle. And maybe if you've got, Lucas there as well, or if Ndombele's there. And Ndombele, that when he came on tonight, he actually put in a little bit of a shift, to be fair to him.
I put it down to just how poor everybody was in the first half.
Exactly. But then Hojbjerg's well off his straps at the moment for some reason. He's just like, he looks like he's running through treacle. So all of a sudden, him not performing is exposing a poor defence.
Yes.
So, that's a double exposure. When you've got poor defenders or a defence which is a second choice or not up to it, you need that midfield to double down and be even better to try and protect a poorer defence. So, it goes from back to front. So you've got a poor defence being overexposed. It's a recipe for disaster. But, to get back to the point, that's the hand Conte's been dealt. That's what he's got to play, isn't it, at the moment? Yeah. Over to you, Daniel Levy.
Yeah.
I think as well. I mean, you looked at it tonight. Reguilon, I believe, was injured tonight, or
he's got a hamstring issue at the moment.
Sessegnon's out with COVID or whatever. Bergwijn is. You'd think, right? Well, maybe Bergwijn could do a job there for 1 or 2 games if we're desperate, but he's not fit at the moment. Eric Dyer's not fit. Romero's not fit. He wants to keep a back three, so he wants Ben Davies to be the left-footed one of the three, so he can't play at left wing back. Tanganga's not a left wing back, so you know you can have a go at Doherty, and none of us want to see Doherty at left wing back. Most of us want to see him going up the M6 straight to Wolverhampton or something. It's the only left wing I want to see him in. But in fairness, what can Conte do? But what can Conte do in that case? He can't play Lo Celso or Ndombele or Dele Alli at left wing back either, can he? So you know his choices. So it probably, if you said to him yourself, Antonio, do you fancy Matt Doherty as a left wing back? He'd say no. The bloke's a clown. But what's my choice tonight? Do I put 3 square pegs in 3 round holes, or do I just try and limit it to 1 square peg in a round hole and hope that the continuity of the team elsewhere, the glue can do enough to cover that in it? But if I have to start taking my centre back to play at left back because he's left footed and leaves a hole there, who would have come in there? And then if I have to play Tanganga on this side, what happens over there? It's too many conundrums to do. So I felt a little bit sorry for him tonight, and he probably doesn't want to play Doherty himself, but that's all that was available to us.
You know what, Jace, on Skipp though, I couldn't believe why he was taken off. I mean, I got a text from Rick's as well, and talking about the midfield, you know, Hojbjerg fumbled the ball so many times tonight. You know, got it, tried to turn, fumbled it, let Chelsea have, you know, so many times, and he has been running to the ground. He was doing 2 and 3 men jobs last year. He's had the Euros. He's come back. I don't know whether he's had COVID or not, but if we're speaking about COVID now, luckily, touch wood, I haven't had it. Yeah, so I don't know what the after effects are, right? But a friend of mine did, and he said he got out of breath like cleaning the house. So he was clear, and he's thinking, you know, he's jumping for joy. He's like, all right, cool, I can go out, I can do what I'm out of quarantine. But he cleaned his house, and he was feeling it in his chest, and he was a bit out of breath. So I don't know whether that's taken a toll on Hojbjerg as well. I'm not saying that he has had COVID. I really don't know. But
it's a good point, Rick. I mean, again, we don't know. It's hard because we're not disclosed the medical records. But I think you made a good point there. We are going to come on to Hojbjerg in a bit more detail soon. But I just want to discuss, as painful as it is, we'll stick with you, Rick. That shambolic first goal, it just so poor. I mean, 5 minutes it took for Chelsea to go ahead. And, you know, it was just dreadful passing around the back, really. And Tanganga, he plays almost a hospital under-hit pass to Emerson and intercepted by Alonso, and the shot goes in off Sanchez. It's something out of comic world. It's a Tottenham own goal, isn't it? That's all you can describe. That is a Tottenham own goal. Have you seen one?
Yeah, and the same with Davies' own goal. You know, the fact that Tanganga heads it out onto Davies' head to go back into the goal, like typical. But it was just unnecessary. Like there was so many times that an underhit or an overhit pass Chelsea took advantage of, and that's credit to them. Not that I want to give them anything.
No, you're right.
But that's credit to them because they hustled us every single time. They rallied round players left, right, and centre. So they forced us into mistakes left, right, and centre. And that first half, you see by the stats that we didn't have nothing. No. We couldn't get going. We couldn't get hold of the ball. We couldn't slow it down. We couldn't do nothing like in that first half because Chelsea were rampant. They were rampant all over us. So every little mistake was magnified by 10 times, even more so than any other game that we've played this season so far. But even more so because Chelsea were on it. And you know what? To go back to Jason's point about like Brighton, Burnley, those that got leads, those that got had a good performance against Chelsea or got a result against them. This is Chelsea versus Tottenham. Totally different game. I've seen West Brom play like bloody well Brazil when they played us. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's totally different game, bro. Like, you know, the crowd were up for it. You know, they were singing, they were baying with that terrible bloody well song that I can't get out of my head. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they were on it. They were left, right, centre on it. And Lukaku had something to prove as well today. Not that he done much, thank goodness.
No, I think Sanchez handled him well. Yeah.
But there were players there that had something to prove. Son Niguez hasn't really played much for Chelsea. Something to prove. But their tackles, their niggles, their little snappy, bitey tackles around the ankles, everything forced us into mistakes left, right, and centre, and they took advantage of it, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
and they did. The only thing I'd say, like I said, I don't want to lay down and say, well, that give it up, but they did that to Liverpool at the weekend. They made Van Dijk look ordinary. They made Fabinho look ordinary. They made Alexander-Arnold look like Emerson Royal. They were miles better at times than Liverpool. So, yes, it's not pleasant to watch, and we can always look at ourselves, but they're very clever that they can think, okay, we know Hojbjerg's not comfortable with the ball, so we just stand off. We leave Hojbjerg as the one to receive the ball, and then the only person they'll pass to is him, and then we hit him. But they don't mark him straight away so that you're not going to pass it. They give that little gap to him so that the obvious ball on is into Hojbjerg, and then they go.
They're good at laying traps, isn't they, Jace? They lay traps,
setting
don't they?
Traps for
they leave
players.
Exactly. Hojbjerg, they leave him open to take the ball and wallop because they know they'll dispossess him.
And it's all right.
It's clever. It's very clever.
And then people can say, okay, well then don't play it amongst themselves. Let's go long. But every time we went long in the first half, Kane and Son were just completely, so it was coming straight back at you anyway.
As I isolated,
so all that happened was that they got the ball in a different area of the pitch, and then that then forces Hojbjerg and Skipp sense that we're under pressure. So human nature makes you drop a little bit necessarily, or Conte my word, but you drop off, and then suddenly that leaves a whole lot of gap in midfield, and they've got time when they've got the ball to pick their passes. It's not that, it's that. They're a better team than us, and Tuchel's coached the world. They are the champions of Europe. They may not be playing that great in the Premier League at the moment, but they won the Champions League by a certain reason. They went to Manchester City and beat Manchester City 3 times in a row right at the end of last season, didn't they? So you don't do that by fluke, that's for sure. And you don't push Liverpool like that. And Liverpool's side Sunday was a lot better than the side that we played Liverpool against as well. Van Dijk was in it, their proper midfield was in it, and they were still able to do that. So in fairness to Chelsea, they're a better side, and they showed it.
I must ask Rich a question. Rich, do you think from that first goal, was it ridiculous to go backwards from the free kick on the halfway line? I mean, there was no reason for Tanganga to put Emerson, I feel, under that pressure. And I just can't understand why Emerson's trying to shield the ball like that instead of kind of stepping inside to it. Can you understand just why we did that? I just baffles me.
The whole move, Rick, was just a clown's car on fire, wasn't it? It was just the whole thing was just exactly that. It started with that, and then Tanganga trying to go short with that pass. You don't do that against Chelsea. You've got to put that up to the halfway line. That short ball, and they're on it. It's you leave a door open that much with this Chelsea side, and they're in. I mean, we flung open the doors of a hangar for a 747 jumbo with that, didn't we? It was like we opened the door and just invited them in. But literally, if the door's open that much, they're on you, and it's open. They're flinging that door open. So it's not only are they a very good side, we just made it so damn easy. It's like it's brainless, Rick, and that's the difference. While, as Jason said, they're out there thinking, laying traps, and not just playing football, but almost playing the chess of football, thinking that 2 moves ahead. If I leave Hojbjerg free here, the ball's going to go to him. It's like chess masters, isn't it? You're sitting playing chess, you'll go, I can move like king to queen's bishop 7.
They're
but
2 moves
masters,
ahead. They're 2
masters are seeing 10 moves ahead, and they see you do that, and you go, I've got him here, checkmate in 4 moves now. Thank you very much. And that is the difference. But the whole thing is that brainless, switched off, not thinking, and it goes back to maybe needing a couple of older, wiser heads in the side, even in training. If they're doing something, bring Bale back on a free, somebody like that who's now an older, wiser head. Coutinho screaming for a club to take him on at the moment, because he wants to get back in that Brazil side. So there's somebody else that could maybe come in, but somebody of that level, maybe not Coutinho, Bale definitely. But when you're in training, those older, wiser heads will take somebody like Emerson, will take somebody like Tanganga and say to them, look, don't do that, do this. if you do this, then this will happen, you know. So there's definitely room for some older, wiser heads to learn from those players and from Conte as well. So at the moment, just the naivety kills us, Rick. It absolutely kills us.
Yeah, and I've got to say, Rich, that your analogies are getting so much now that people are actually creating emojis for them. They're Andrew McDonald. They're giving you the sign language to it. If you, like I say, want to go through that, like I say, press the red button. Don't press the red button. There's nothing on the red button apart from those replays of the games. So don't press the red button. Jace, I think you probably wanted to press the red button more than once tonight. That second goal, I mean, where do we start with that? I mean, Davis trying to clear the ball. Hojbjerg saying no, smashing it straight to Skipp to allow it. Well, it depends where you want to start it.
I hold on the second goal.
The Tanganga header. Sorry,
Hey?
my head is gone because where we are right now. But Tanganga heading
there was the bit where
Davis.
Hojbjerg just smashed the ball across the face of our box, but they weren't the second goal.
That was before that. But Tanganga heading against Ben Davis's shoulder. Should there be more communication in the box there?
Well,
should
if you think about it, we suffered from a ricochet in that goal twice. Because Davinson Sanchez actually made a really good tackle against Lukaku, and the ball ricocheted. He made a really good tackle when it ricocheted off to Hojbjerg, straight back to him, and then he was on the floor and ends up making a foul. But, you know, so there's the first ricochet that goes against us, if you like. Ball could have gone anywhere from Davinson Sanchez, but it was a decent tackle. But then they get the free kick. But yeah, Hugo could comfortably come and take that ball and could actually take it here. It wouldn't have even been at full stretch.
Yeah, but
or just been a normal catch. So
just say something, shout, do something, say something.
Well, and you usually always hear Hugo shout, "Get out," doesn't he? They're the only two words I think he knows in English at the moment. That's all I hear in the game is "Get out, get out, get out." But he'd be hopeless in "I'm a celebrity, get me out of here," wouldn't he? Hugo? he'd be giving up the trial straight away. But no, I mean it was a simple thing. Hugo could have come and claimed that ball at chest height even. And it would have been dealt with. But you don't know if Hugo did shout something and Tanganga kind of panicked and just headed it anyway. The one I felt sorry for was Ben Davis, who had no chance of getting out there.
Ben Davis couldn't do anything about that. No.
But that's what I mean. Those things happen at that ground more than... I bet if he did that at Morecambe on Sunday,
it would go out for
Ben Davis, he goes over the bar.
Or
something like that. And in any other Premier, even at Burnley, it will hit someone on the shot and go some. But because it's at Stamford Bridge, it's just like everything goes wrong that could possibly go wrong there. So it ends up in our net.
They make those things happen, though, Jace, don't they? Things like that. They make you make those mistakes, you know?
Yeah.
I know that, like, as you say, against Morecambe, it sort of goes off the bar and goes out for a corner or something. But that's you know, the sign of those types of sides. They make you make those mistakes. They put you under that pressure.
No, they do.
That makes you do that. And you know, it's no mistake. These mistakes happen.
And it's always those guys, you know, Toby at Anfield a couple of years ago, again in the last couple of minutes, didn't he? Or they give stupid penalties away in these games. Yeah. But you're right, it's they force you into those errors because they've pressurised you and you've lost your composure, and so you're just you're kind of reacting like that without thinking. And you're right, that's the difference.
I must say the other, I think the other one I was referring to at the time, Jace, was we had a couple before that. We saw Davis try and clear the ball, and then Hojbjerg almost saying no and smashed it straight into Skipp before the second one went in, and that allowed Havertz to have a shot. At that point, it was a difficult watch. That was at 1-0. Then we saw Tanganga ball watching, and luckily Rudiger fluffed his effort from over the bar. I mean, this is what I mean. There was so many chances that we could have easily been...
Romelu Lukaku with Davinson Sanchez just watching.
4-5-0 down. Yeah, I mean...
Easily.
Lloris couldn't he couldn't have done much in terms of the goals and like I say, but Tanganga, and from what we've seen tonight, he had a couple more shaky moments in the second half as well. A really bad day at the office for him. Rick, will he come back stronger, Tanganga, or do you think now he almost does need a loan elsewhere to go and get regular first-team Premier League football under his belt?
I definitely think he needs a loan, Ricks. I mean, I think we're having a bit of the Carl Walker-Peters syndrome here, where we held on to him too long as a squad player, and he almost burnt out, you know, and it was almost like nobody trusted him after a while.
He's doing really well now, I must say, for Southampton with a regular run of games.
Absolutely. And, you know, I totally get why the idea behind keeping him, because obviously the clattering challenge in the first game of the season against Man City, You know, he looked impressive. He looked strong. And you could see, I think everyone got a little bit too excited too quickly and thought, oh, this boy, he's gonna go on leaps and bounds this season. But he definitely needs a loan right now, whether it's from January for the rest of the season or next summer, a fully year loan somewhere, either, you know, Scotland or, you know, championship level, or even, doesn't matter where he goes, as long as he's getting some first team football under his belt, because there is a lot of good in Tanganga, but he's very young, he's very raw. It's easy for someone like Chelsea to make it push him into panic stations. Do you know what I mean? And they did it. They did it, and they done it so well. So I think he definitely needs a loan, Ricks. Definitely.
Yeah. Crackers want to come around and you ask you about Davinson Sanchez. You know, he was unfortunate with the early Chelsea goals we mentioned because he rushed out. The ball had been fighting from close range. I mean, overall, you know what? I thought where he's in that kind of this makeshift back three, he actually had some really good moments today. I think he defended really well against Lukaku, especially towards the end of the game. Lukaku was almost through at one point. You know, shuffled him onto his wrong foot. And, you know, I tell you what, apart from that, really, I think, you know, apart from the first half, where he looked a little bit shaky, I thought he's coming along strong, Sanchez. I don't think I'd ever say that, but I think he's been one of those players under Conte so far that has improved.
Yeah, he's definitely stepped up, Rick, and he's not spectacular, but he's now solid. He's dropping a lot of those silly mistakes that he was making. He's learning from them, and he's progressing. And you know, we go back to those baby steps again of being the best of the rest. So somebody like Sanchez playing at that level is going to be good enough for us at the moment. You know, would he make a Chelsea side? Probably not, but we're not at their level as a whole team. So where we are at the moment, I'm really quite pleased with what he's done. And don't underestimate just how difficult Lukaku is to deal with.
And he was up for it tonight.
You know, I mean, Michael Dawson was talking before the game, and he said he's played against Lukaku. He's, you know, couldn't barely get out of bed for 2 days after. He smashed him all around the place. You know, Lukaku's a huge lump. I can't wait till Adama Traore man marks him when we play him again in March. Imagine them two, the irresistible force versus the immovable object. I've managed to get Jace to put his head in his hands. That's it. Show's over. Good night. I've even made him pull the jumper up. Yeah.
Don't tell Jason. He might be man marking in training come the end of January.
Right. Okay. Right. The cricket's on 1:30. Right. It's been good to catch up with you boys, but talking about Adama Traore to Tottenham, I think it's time I went to bed.
Can I properly finish you off, Jason? Ask you to tell me what you thought of Emerson Royal. Easy. Tell me what you thought of Emerson Royal's performance. It's caught on his heels for the first goal. Very little going forward as well as a wing back, and I must say, I know Lee might be watching. And we had a little bit of a tete-a-tete on the old WhatsApp group, me and Lee, backwards and forwards with Emerson. I mean, listen, good luck to Lee. He thinks he's going to come good.
Well, you was on one this morning. I was reading the message. I thought, blimey. I mean, you've ripped half the team before we even kicked off here. I thought, blimey. I thought Eric Dyer's shagging your wife, and you've got somebody else who's obviously doing things to your front garden or something, digging all your plants up or something. But I thought, what's happened to the team here? I couldn't believe it.
Well, Emerson, though, quickly, Jace, on Emerson, do you think he's going to
Ben Davies being 6 out of 10?
I know. Listen, Ben Davies done well tonight. He couldn't do anything about that own goal tonight, Ben Davies. And very quickly on him, mate. He was one of the best of the bunch there. I thought Davies out the back. I think he had a bad game, Davies. But Emerson, what do you honestly think? I mean, he's a player at the moment that is really polarising the fan base. I'm putting that politely.
It needs to improve.
Will he improve? Will he improve?
Well, we've talked about how much Conte's improved a lot of these players. So, but he's improved them to a level that he's improved them by 10%. I mean, we're hearing to some of the shows, and we're already
hearing talk that he's looking already for a new right wing back. What does that mean for Emerson?
Well, I think he'll want a better one. He'll want one with more quality going forward. But you know, it's. I see what Lee's saying. It's a little bit early to call a bloke absolute SHIT and draw a line under him. We're not at that stage yet because there's chance. But who's better, Emerson Royal or Matt Doherty? They're the two he's got to pick from.
Yeah.
That's all he's got to pick from at the moment.
Yeah.
So he's going to
worry.
pick
It's worrying though. It's worrying already though that this guy's only come a few months ago and he's getting already a lot of stick. To be fair, I mean, Twitter. I know Twitter is one of those places where you got it's always quite Twitter's Twitter, right? You know what it's like on there. Spurs Twitter especially. I mean, a lot of dogs abuse for Emerson already.
There is a lot of dogs abuse, but you're one that thinks somebody's going to go to Bayern Munich and win the Ballon d'Or 3 years after he signed. So,
I
think even you've given up on that one now.
Yeah, no, I have given up on that. I can promise you I've given up on that one now. I do promise you.
So all I mean is if you give one bloke 3 years, you at least give somebody 3 months.
No, of course. Listen, of course. I mean, Rich, listen, you're always honest, Rich, on players when you've seen them. His early days with Emerson. Will he improve under Conte, do you think?
Do you know what, with Emerson, at the moment, like, if he was a lollipop man, you wouldn't cross with him, would you? You really would. You go further down the road and cross somewhere else, wouldn't you? Because him and crossing is just like not happening. So, like, but I don't know, Rick. I just see something in him. I don't know what. I just see something.
Got great physique. He's tall. Yeah.
And I just all of a sudden I see a little bit of skill or a little turn, a little flash. There's like these little glimpses, and you think to yourself, can you join those all together and knock a bit of the silliness out? And there's a player there. He's almost like he may be one of these freestylers that just happens to be like, I don't know. There's a baller in there. But can that be brought out and disciplined? And I think he's very similar to Bryan Gil. You're seeing him, and I really like him. And you saw him like Bryan Gil at the end of the game tonight. That that little sort of run down the wing and
little jink, little
jink, and I forget who that was. He was up against there. He nearly had to pay to come back in. And it was like, but that's it. It's like do that. But do it constantly. And these little flashes of Emerson, do that, but do it constantly with a bit of discipline. So I can't decide with Emerson at the moment.
I think as well,
beater or panel beater. I don't know which way he's going to go, Rick.
He's been given a lot of flack for his crossing, which hasn't been good. And then I see that thing that his percentage of crosses that have been accurate. He's on a level with all the wing backs we're supposed to be buying, like Tariq Lamptey and that. So there's that part to it. But you also need the movement in the box to do it. Now, Emerson Royal in the first half actually played a really good little neat ball into Kane. Was the ball, it was Kane pointed, Kane almost wanted the ball there. And Emerson Royal actually played it was a pass, not a cross, a pass into it. And Rudiger just moved Kane out of the way. So it just runs into touch and everyone thinks, terrible ball. But it was actually a really good ball. It's just, like I said, it was at the right weight and it was everything right for Kane to say, right, get onto that. But Kane didn't get onto it. So it becomes a bad pass. But was it a bad pass or was it just poor play from Kane that doesn't get onto it? So it becomes a bad pass. But that was a prime example of you can't always look at, because his cross doesn't complete, that it's a bad cross. Yep. That's not the only thing.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But he certainly needs to improve a lot for sure. I'm not saying that.
I think we can all agree on this. Matt Doherty lasted just for 45 minutes, and I think he did very little in it to prove that he's got a future at Spurs. I think he'd be one that I think we can all safely say if the opportunity comes in, the right offer, I'm sure we'd be looking to move him on.
He was one that when we had one glimmer of a move in the first half where he actually ended up in loads of space on the left and they found him. Yeah, and you thought, right, now get a chance from it. And he dallied so long getting the ball under control. And you thought that was a real chance to get something going. At least win a corner from it or something. Get some pressure.
I just hope he doesn't read social media. Spurs' social media. That is when that team gets.
Do you know what Matt Doherty's going to become? In 5 seasons' time, I'm going to be doing one of my shit quizzes at the end of the show, and I'm going to do a question. I'm going to go. You played in defence, came from Wolves, and you'll go,
who is it?
What was his name? That's going to be him in 5 seasons' time. He's going to be one of those ones. He's like Johnny Blondell, he's one of them ones that's just going to Simovic. He's just going to go into the ether of your memory.
Crackers.
And that's
We still
gonna be
remember
him.
Tremazzani, mate. So
Well,
Yeah.
it just shows
there
how
you
well we
go, yeah,
remember.
you know,
Simovic.
Yeah.
Gilberto.
He is.
Oh.
He's going into one of those, isn't he? I'm never
He is.
hosting a Legends Night with him, am I? Put it that way.
I think you're the well. You are the legend. You are the legend.
But you know what, boys, on Emerson as well. Remember that like he's come from a different league. Again,
Yeah, of
we've
course.
already established that Premier League is a totally different ball game. His link-up play with Lucas is getting better game in, game out. I think one of the big things, there was an interview early on where Lucas was interviewing Emerson, and Emerson spoke about the language barrier and how he likes to learn the language so that he can communicate and understand what's going on the pitch, and so he can communicate his type of football to the rest of the boys as well. And I think the more that he kind of gets that under his belt, I think we'll see improved performances from him. Also on the Adama thing and on the Doherty thing, on getting in another right wing back, it's because that position right now has become extremely important for us. You know, those two,
With Conte here,
with Conte here, you know, he said it the other day, they've got to be a defender, a winger, a midfielder, and a striker that are our wing backs. So bringing in somebody else so that we can rotate the wing backs and we can have different options of a wing back, I think is important. And Doherty, we all know that Doherty ain't the man. So if we can sell Doherty, then bringing in another right wing back is not necessarily to bring him in to replace Emerson. It's to compete with him and to kind of give him the push as well, you know. So I don't think it's as bad as kind of saying that Emerson is rubbish. I think there's a lot to come from him. There's, you know, he came playing as a right back, not a right wing back, so he's learning a new role as well. He's learning all the time, you know, what his teammates, the runs that his teammates make left, right, and centre. It's not a coincidence that he consistently finds Lucas when he does find a player. You know, so a little bit by little bit, I think there could be, he could be very good. And if anyone's going to get the best out of him, it's got to be Conte. So,
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, moving on to the midfield, I mean, listen, Skippy is always battled away in the middle of that park. I think he can count himself very unlucky to be taken off. I couldn't really understand that one with Morecambe on the weekend. I could understand if we were playing, a superior Premier League team at the weekend, but wasn't the case. And I know that really infuriated fans that we saw, Skippy going off, and obviously then Winksy replacing. Obviously, Winksy come on as well towards the end of that game. But I mean, Hojbjerg. We'll touch on Hojbjerg very quickly. I know, Jace. I know we're saying we don't want to go through all the team, but Hojbjerg for you, Jace. At the moment, another game really below the standards that he set when he first came in. I think many will feel that he was fortunate not to get hooked when Winks came on. It's just something that's not right, is there? I mean, Rick said earlier, maybe again, if he was one of those that had COVID with the original set, obviously the original batch of players, I mean, it could be again a situation with that. I mean, we don't know that for sure. It's hard to be too privy on the medical health of players. I mean, Hojbjerg, would you be in favour of maybe taking him out of the team, Jace, to give him that rest? It seems like he doesn't need that break from it.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of games, I would have taken him off in over Oliver Skipp. Even at Watford, did Skippy go off at Southampton as well? Didn't he? Did Skippy go off at Southampton?
I think he did.
Or did Skipp start at Southampton? I can't remember. No, Skippy didn't start at Southampton, did he?
No, he was
If I
on the bench.
rightly, he was left out. But yes, I would have done. I would take Hojbjerg off in front of Skipp because he's not comfortable with the ball. And I think, that's, like I say, I think teams are starting to see happy to let Hojbjerg have the ball in certain areas, and that's what they'll do to us. So, yeah, another one that's not playing at the level. But this is our problem. There's so many to replace, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Rich, to you on Hojbjerg, are you in favour of maybe giving him a bit of a break from the team? That's what's being called for, from some Spurs fans on social media, that he just needs that little bit break from the team.
I think as well with Hojbjerg, the difference is that when he came into a Mourinho side that's just going to sit in two huge lines on the edge of our box, and all he's got to do is cover a little area and make a tackle and make a brave block, and then let everybody else break up fields. But now he almost needs to bring the ball and start making passes. Then you're not playing to. He probably himself knows he hasn't got those qualities, so that's part of the problem. Yeah. You're asking him to do a different role, even though he's still the person in midfield. You're letting him have the ball a lot more and telling him to pick passes as well, and he can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, anything to add for you, Rich, on Hojbjerg that you've seen at the moment?
I think it's a double whammy of him dropping off in his performances and the emergence of Skipp. So whereas he was in a side under Mourinho, was actually putting a shift in. It was obviously that there was players that wasn't playing for Mourinho and wasn't playing for Nuno. He was maybe one of those honest players that did try and put it in. So he looked more champagne than he was. Now, he may be weighed down by a few things, and Skippy coming in, he's looking a little bit more lemonade, isn't he, than champagne? So I think it's a double whammy of him dropping off and the emergence of Skipp is making him look even worse. He needs a rest, Rick. I don't know whether he needs a rest or whether he's just dropped off. And if that's the case, he may have to be one of those that goes. But the problem you've got again is selection. Because this
we haven't got many options. We've not got much depth there.
He can't trust Ndombele and he can't trust Dele to come in and do any sort of roles across the middle there. So again, it comes back. It's a several-headed beast at the moment, isn't it? Hojbjerg needs a rest, but we haven't got players to be able to trust. Yeah, he is looking like the Danish Stefan Freund at the moment, as Twisted Complex says. So it's a problem, but he's not where he was. That's for sure.
I also feel, though, I mean, Rick, quickly on Hojbjerg, we want to move on. I also feel the emergence of Skipp has almost really, I would say, done Hojbjerg in. That's why I would describe it. I think the way in so quickly, Skipp's emergence to the team, the way he's grown so quickly, has almost, I would say, lessened the opinion of the ability of Hojbjerg as a player.
Yeah, I mean, but Skippy's coming in with a lot of energy. He's coming in with a point to prove. He loves the club. He's grown up with the club. He's like, I don't know if you saw him as a kid in the little Tottenham top a little while back on Twitter there. So there's a lot of kind of heart and passion and want to prove and want to succeed and want to achieve with Tottenham from Skippy right now. I think Hojbjerg he's got a bit of that warrior spirit about him. And I think even if he had, if he was in battle and somebody chopped off his leg and his right arm, he'd still be like, listen, boys, I'm going to go fight. Let's fight. I'm with you. And a bit like Ndombele did under Mourinho and under a couple of managers, actually. He played when he wasn't fit many a time because he had a bit of that warrior spirit to be like, nah, all right, I'm here for you. Even though I'm not 100%, I'm here for you. And maybe Hojbjerg is a bit like that, where he's like, boss, I'm here for you. I'll do it. I'm here. Don't worry, I can play. I might not be 100%, but I can play and I'll do it. And maybe that's a bit kind of, it's hurting himself right now. I think
that's not enough though, Rick, is it? That warrior spirit just isn't enough. I'd go out there with a warrior spirit for Spurs. But, I'm 18 stone and would make a right ash of it. It's not enough. There was no warrior spirit at all from somebody like Berbatov, who just couldn't care less.
No, yeah.
But you take him in your team all day long because he was just such a great footballer. Yeah. So that's the problem. Like Freund is such a cult hero, but he was bobbins, wasn't he, really? Because when he was injured, he jumped into the stands and bought everyone a beer at half-time in block 31 and 32. Everyone loved him, but he used that to cover up for his shortcomings. So that warrior spirit, it just doesn't cut the mustard. You need to have the warrior spirit and be bloody good as well.
And the ability. Yeah.
I agree, but I think a lot of it was only a couple of months ago, a lot of fans were saying that Hojbjerg would be perfect for a captain because of the way he spoke and the way he stood up. And before Hojbjerg turned up, we didn't really have a midfield. We was empty in midfield. I don't care who played there. I know Winks had a run before Hojbjerg turned up, and it was like nobody was there. People could run through us like nothing. It was only when Hojbjerg turned up that we started to have a bit of a midfield and we started to be a little bit solid in the middle. I'm not saying that he's the answer, but what I'm saying is that warrior spirit is probably making him play when he's not close to 50% fit or close to 50% of his ability.
I'm with you, Rick. I mean, for me, I still think, we haven't, I don't think we've grown beyond Hojbjerg being part of the squad. But I would now question whether he's good enough to make Spurs' first 11. And
all I'd ask, Rick, is, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but who is your guaranteed midfield pairing?
At the moment, that's a difficult one.
That's the problem, isn't it?
I mean,
that is the problem.
It's Skipp and one. The problem is that other one is who do you trust next to him? And this is the ultimate question, isn't it? And this is the biggest problem. We touched on Harry Winks. Didn't really make much of an impact in that second half as he did in recent games. Mora hooked after the 68th minutes. Let's be honest about it. Mora tries to make things happen, but a quiet game for him. Just want to touch on Son very quickly because huffed and puffed maybe tonight. I mean, wasn't really his night, Son. I'm seeing a lot of criticism for him online, Son at the moment. I mean, listen, he's, as you said, Rick, for you, he's one of your favourite players. I mean, Jace, is that criticism fair, Son, at the moment? I mean, we saw we saw him against the winning against Watford being so elated and, patting everybody on the head and, geeing everybody up. The passion's there. Is his performances there at the moment for you, Jace? Son?
Well, his performance tonight was absolutely zero. I mean, at least Lucas Moura looked like he was trying to do something, but Sonny never looked like he was going to do anything. I don't remember a thing in the game where I thought, go on then, and you thought it is a chance, but absolutely nothing for him. So, and Kane was the same tonight, let's be honest, in open play, other than suddenly Kane hit the target from a free kick, which is better than he usually does from a free kick. But that apart, those front two were anonymous. But that's credit to Azpilicueta and Rudiger and those players that just... they had them in their pockets, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Rich, very quickly, Bryan Gil. I feel like I have to ask. I feel like I have to come to you on Bryan Gil because of the connection, right? I mean, listen, I think we touched on it earlier. A lovely, good touch and set the Celso up for a chance. Again, a little cameo from him. I presume Javi will see him at the weekend against Morecambe. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. As I say, that little turn against Pulisic that somebody put up. Thank you very much, because I forgot who that was. It was a little glimpse of what he can do, but he's a long way off. He's a project, Rick. He really is a project. Like I keep saying, stakes and gym. That's what he needs. He's nowhere near Premier League at the moment, but he's got an engine on him. He might just be a little bit of a wild card in games at the moment, because he has got the ability to do what he done against Pulisic tonight. And sometimes just that little bit of a wild card, a little bit of a maverick almost, can buy you that little 10 yards and that little pass that creates something. So, playing him against Chelsea for 90 minutes, no. But in certain games, start dipping him in, and look, you're not going to know if he's any good unless you give him some minutes. So you might have to start giving him some minutes and see if there is something there. But there definitely is a player in there. I'm telling you that for fact. There is 100% a player in there, because I've just heard how much the Spanish rave about him. So, and they know a player. It's as simple as that. They don't rate players. I always say this every show, unless they're good, and he's rated. So I don't know. He needs time, Rick. And a game.
The problem with time is, isn't it? The problem with time is, as we all know, with football, patience.
You don't get it. No. And if he does go and tear it up at Morecambe at the weekend, he's also then up against, well, it's only Morecambe. So, it's you've got to give players let's look at Bale. Bale just nothing. It was like 28 games or something, wasn't it? And he was this skinny runt of a kid, and he got that injury, and he come back and he looked like, a Adama Traore, didn't he? He bulked out and there he was. And he went on to do what he done. So, don't write off players too early. So, I like him. There's something there. I'm going to keep banging the drum for Bryan Gil, and let's see what happens. He'll be gone next season, won't he? He'll be off to rail of your dad, won't he?
He'll be of your dad.
He'll be question 4 on the shit quiz just after Matt Doherty, who was the Spanish kid that played for us in 5 years.
What's worrying about that shit quiz is it's becoming more and more modern by the day now. It's the 2021 edition. I tell you. Oh God, Lo Celso. I mean, listen, he tested Kepa with a low shot. Nothing really much more from Lo Celso. Again, what's going to happen with him this window, who really knows? Kane, I mean, he barely saw the ball in that first half, Harry Kane. Second period, he again had a free kick, tested Kepa. I mean, looked isolated without a lot of service that game. I mean, after the game, he posted and said, paid the price for a poor first half, but the tie isn't over. Great noise from the away end, whether that's Kane or his PR team. I'll let you be the judge of that. Kane, very quickly, boys, we'll talk about Morecambe. Jace, Kane, anything?
Well, I've just said about Kane, haven't I? You know, it was offered nothing. And like I said, the Emerson ball in that first half was a prime example. He wanted the ball played there, and then as soon as it was played there, Rudiger just muscled him out of the way and he barely took a step towards it. So, you know, for a person that wants to win trophies, he's got to turn up in these games.
I was about to say this, Rick. So these are the games that Kane will be banging on about, saying he wants to win. He wanted to leave the summer for these kind of reasons because he wants to win trophies. These are the games to turn up in, right?
Do you know what, Rick? May I just jump in there
Please,
with Kane? Yeah.
Cool.
He's more than good enough for us and where we are, but he isn't world class. I've never said it, because world class players actually get hold of games like tonight by the scruff of the neck.
Absolutely.
And go and get you that one goal to keep you firmly in it, or go and turn it round. And Kane just doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. As much as he's a bricklayer that got no bricks tonight again. Like, you know, when you're a world-class bricklayer, you get yourself down, you know, Build Base or Selco's, like, they can send me a tenner for the advertising, thanks very much, and go and get your own bricks. Do you know what I mean? If you're not getting a delivery of them, jump in your van and go and get them.
Do you know what's interesting? Andrew, I've seen this post a couple of times. It's easy to criticise Kane, yet reluctant to criticise Son. Very quickly,
we just did criticise him. I said he did absolutely nothing tonight.
I think both of them the same.
Son and Kane, both of them have been very quiet the last 4 or 5 games. And let's be honest, we don't try and sugarcoat things here on the show. We try and tell it as it is. I think both of them haven't been up to the standards that we know they can be. I mean, listen, Kane had been scoring on, I think, 3 goals in a row. They look like there's going to be some form of comeback there. Yes, we're only obviously 1 leg in. Hopefully we're going to turn it around.
I think the one difference, you know, with players like that, where people say you don't criticise them, and, you know, I haven't been on the last couple of shows, but I've heard lots of criticisms for Son in those games. The one difference is that even in a poor game, he's still been able to do something in a game. He takes the free kick late on. It's him that wins the penalty at Southampton. You know, he's still able to do some things in a game, even when he's poor, and that's the difference between, you know, why sometimes he maybe gets protected, because as much as you're thinking he didn't do this and he didn't do that, it's also in your mind, but he did do that. So that's why I think players like that don't get called out as much as others, because their poor performances can still include 1 or 2 things that have got quality to it.
Yeah, I'm conscious. We're going to fill in one more player. We're going to do 2 minutes on Morecambe, just a prediction, and we are going to be finishing. Ricks, we'll come to you to save Jason this question. 5
minutes until tomorrow, so we've got 4 minutes to do the show.
I'm looking.
All right, I'll try and be quick, Jace.
And Ndombele, Ricks, give us your verdict very quickly. You know, he obviously played as the number 10 when he came on in that second half. He was put through his rigorous session there before he came on. Ndombele, do you reckon he'll be staying?
It's sounding unlikely. Ricks. And you know, what can you say about Ndombele that we haven't already said on this show? You know, I would have loved.
I know what Jason's saying.
Exactly. So don't ask me.
I'm not going to. I won't be asking you. Don't you worry.
I would have loved him to turn up tonight and totally kind of change the game for us. But I think it is due to a lot of credit for Chelsea, you know, Rudiger was immense tonight.
Yeah, it was.
You know, even their other centre back, Malang Sarr, who I'm sure it was an elbow. I mean, I didn't watch it for too long. I didn't see the replay, but I'm sure it was an elbow on Kane. Correct me if I'm wrong, boys. I don't want to, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, they were solid. They like the boys have said from the start of this show, they set traps and they knew how to defend against us. We're a tier 1 Conte level right now, yeah? And we're like the boys have been saying, we're building baby steps little bit by little bit, but we're tier 1. They had Conte, I don't know how many years ago. So they've done tier 1 Conte, they've done that. They dropped a little bit. Then Tuchel's come in. He's coached them well. He's drilled them well. They know what style of play they're playing. They know they've got the winning mentality, like the boys have said. So you wrap that all together, plus the Champions League last season, and that's why they're at the level that they're at. But exactly like Jason, the boys have been saying, we need to be just taking these baby steps. So little bit by little bit, we get up there. But on Ndombele, bro, I really don't know. I really, really don't know anymore with him. I would have loved him to be the man that we all want him to be, but he just hasn't really turned up as yet.
You know what's weird though, Rich? Coming on to you to close this segment.
Come on, the shipyards are playing Oilers or something.
I'm doing it.
Got the quiz to go yet, Jace? It's only 11 o'clock here in the Canary Islands.
That's tomorrow, the quiz.
Rich, the funny thing is though that I haven't told the mic now because of the feedback volume. But Fabregas, when he was at Chelsea under Conte, he took 6 months to get into the team. Ericsson took 6 months to get into the Inter team. So is it almost a way there when Ndombele could still be there and he's just testing? I'm only asking, Rich. Do you think there's a future for him?
Someone's got to take him, Rick. That's the problem. So it's all very well saying like let's get rid of him, but is the club going to take that big hit on him to go? And that's the problem. It's not people coming in; it's getting people out the door. And you know, the thing is, like Ndombele, like many others, like Rodon, like Lo Celso, like, there's so many there that need to go. You can't get rid of them all in one go. So, you know, some of them, he's got to keep blowing smoke up their backsides and telling them how great they are when really he wants them gone, but he can't get rid of all of them. But Ndombele is one of those ones that probably needs to be gone just to free up a wage, to be honest, because it's a huge wage. I really wish he put it in. I wish he'd just all of a sudden get it, you know, because man alive, there's a player there. But it's not going to happen. So, you know, we've got to be ruthless and just get rid of these people.
Look, I've got a fire at home. I've got to leave. The house is on fire.
I wish Ndombele was on fire.
Well, for Jason's sake, we're gonna, like I say, leave the Chelsea review there. We are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners on audio. You're going to hear from a very, very lovely Morecambe fan who's given us a massive preview of Morecambe to come on the weekend. It's actually smoking in Jason's house. As much smoke from the Spurs team we saw this evening. For our watching on YouTube, there's still over 500 of you watching us live to Jason's absolutely desperate attempts to leave. Right, guys, obviously, what's that in the background of Richie's house?
Crackers is trying to smoke that spider off the ceiling.
Right, Morecambe, very quickly, boys. We're just going to do a quick prediction for this, no more than that. This is a huge, exciting time for Morecambe, of course. It'll be their first ever visit to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They're in League One at the moment, of course. They set up this visit, I think, from beating Doncaster. Well, they beat Doncaster in their last league match, but given their shaky defence, they've got themselves. They'll be coming here, listen, just trying to hopefully enjoy the occasion. But listen, it's NS Moral. We've obviously been gone out to as well of a competition. I say gone out, forced out of it. We got beaten by them. Therefore, can we afford to go 2 week? Jace, we'll start with you. Team-wise prediction?
You got Chelsea and Arsenal to come, so I think he'll rotate the squad. The one thing you got to be careful of is their front line is Hojbjerg and Shayon Harrison, both former Tottenham trainees, and we know. You know the type of story that often brings up, don't you? That the kid returns and gets something. So, but we have no idea what type of team we'll pick, do we? No idea. Almost impossible to predict it. And it's now tomorrow, so I'm not going to predict it.
Really? That's it? Is it?
No, it's Thursday now. It's the next day, Rick. The cricket is on. It's Thursday. The steel yards are playing the barebacks or whatever
We're actually bang on midnight, so we've actually got 30 seconds until it is tomorrow.
Tiddlywinks is coming on now, and that's it. So we'll win. Move on.
Right, there you go. A win from Jason. Refusal of a prediction. God, these divas, they're getting worse these days. Let's come around. Let's come around.
You booked me for 1 day, not 2 days. It's Wednesday we start, and I just want to say we've been live for. We've been live now for 89 minutes. The game only took 93 minutes to bloody play.
If you shut up, we'll close it before the stoppage time kicks in.
Even my spider's going to drop off the ceiling in a minute. It's gone on so long.
Mark, he does. Don't worry, we're going to try and sort it. Rick's come over to you. Let's get a prediction from you.
2-0, mate. 2-0 Tottenham. I reckon
2-0
a bit of a
Tottenham.
change side, but 2-0 Tottenham. There you go.
Just to warn Jason, who's going to score, Rick?
Ndombele.
Ndombele's great, yeah? I won't let you predict the team. That might finish him off. Rich, let's come to you. Let's close it. Rich, what are you going to go for the weekend?
Well, he's going to rotate so much. Me and my spider are on the bench on the weekend, so it's a foregone conclusion, surely, isn't it? I mean, even Spurs can't Spurs this up, can they?
This is Tottenham.
Yeah, he says.
I don't know
We've got 2 fires now.
Yeah, it's a win. We should just be able to put whoever we want in, really, shouldn't we? I hope Morecambe enjoy the day. I hope this really doesn't come back to bite me on the arse, all this, because I'm just skipping over it nonchalantly, and I. Yeah. So and it's Christmas Day here in Spain, by the way. So I'm on triple time now. This is Christmas Day working.
Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas.
Thank you.
My God. I think Spurs
Navidad.
As we said, Spurs delivered the presents about a couple of hours ago, Rich. Unfortunately, just in the wrong freaking net. These lovely people you see will be back with us, of course, for the return leg of this. So, very quickly, let's close it on this. Any chance of the second leg, boys? We're going to leave it here. Rick, yes or no? Can we still do it?
Yeah, 4-0, Ricks. 4-0. I'll never back my team to lose. Never in a million years. 4-0, we're going to stuff them.
Jace, you're back in 2 weeks. Is it a week's time? The Chelsea, sorry, week's time, isn't it? The Chelsea return leg.
I think we can do it, but we'll need to do it on penalties probably if we are to do it.
God, look at that, Rich.
But
do you agree?
We did do them on penalties last year.
Did. Yep. Yeah, we did.
More chance of Jason buying an Ndombele shirt than us going through to this final. Rick,
right,
sorry, I don't like to speak like that. Not happening. They'll manage this game out.
Right,
Done.
I can tell you for when Last Word on Spurs' best bits go out of 2022, that's getting nabbed and that'll be right at the front of it. I hope, fingers crossed, please God. I hope, Rich, you are wrong. Oh, I do, honestly. But honestly, it's difficult. My thanks to our wonderful panel. Bearing in mind, it isn't easy to come on. And Stuart David says, my house is on fire. Don't look at us, Stu, I promise you. To a wonderful panel that will be joining us again in a week's time to review, hopefully, Spurs going back to Wembley. Listen, 50% of the way there, Chelsea are now. Football has got a funny way of changing things, though. Ricks, thank you so much as always. Lovely to have you back on.
Thank you for having me, mate. It's always an honour and a pleasure, even on a night like this. But you boys you've aided me during this time, and you've given me the therapy that I need. So thank you, gents. It's been, can we still promote the film, Rick, even though it's past Christmas for Jason's sake? I mean, of course you can. Of course you can. Princess Switch 3 is on Netflix. It's a Christmas movie, but in the third one, there's a heist. So it doesn't really need to be Christmas for you to enjoy it. So it's there whenever you're ready. Princess Switch 3.
I'll watch it next Christmas. Thanks.
Rich, thank you so much as always, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. From me and my spider, thank you very much.
Because of Jason's rudeness, we'll ask you in a week's time of what gigs you've got coming up, just in case you can push him over the edge.
I'm petrified of that spider moving. I tell you, I hate them. I hate them. That is my phobia.
Yeah,
I hate spiders more than Ndombele. Put it that way.
Put him out of his misery, Rick. I'll talk about upcoming shows another time.
We will. Next week we will. Listen, hopefully next week we're going to have a shit quiz. If Spurs go through to the final, we do promise there will be a shit quiz. Please, God, please. Jace, thank you as always. I'm sure we speak for a lot of everyone here.
Cheers, boys. Cheers. Just send me a message.
Take care. Guys, from Ricky, from Richard, from Jason, myself, keep the faith as always. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.